Hello, this is Dave at TitleSearch.com and AFX Title. One of the most common requests that we get is how to change the name on a real estate or property title. The first thing to start out with is what name is the property currently titled in. And you don't want to go by chance, you don't even want to go by a deed that you have in your hand. You want to actually look at the current property title status off of a current title search to make sure you know what the property name is currently vested in. If you start out with the wrong information, you may transfer title from one name to another and find out that the original name wasn't correct to begin with. So start by definitively understanding whose name the title is in first. And then you're going to look to see, are you adding a name, subtracting a name, changing a name, to determine the best route to go for the execution of documentation. If it's a family transfer, sometimes you can use a Quitclaim Deed to add a name, change a name, or to put it in another family name. Is it a married name? Is a person on title become married, become divorced, and it's the same person, just a different name? That may require additional documentation such as an authorization or even an affidavit of name change. Is it a typo? Is there a current name on title that's spelled incorrectly or worded incorrectly, maybe with a wrong middle initial? That may require a correction deed to change that information. Be very careful when using a quitclaim deed to adjust the name on a property. Most properties, if it has a mortgage, it will also have a title insurance policy. If you use a quitclaim deed, you may void the current coverage on that title insurance policy. Normally, title insurance will cover the current owner of the property as long as they own that parcel for any types of title insurance claims, ownership issues, lien issues, and the like, and even boundary issues. If you quitclaim deed the property, even to your own name with a typo, or to a spouse name, or adding a name, in some cases that may trigger cancellation of that title insurance policy. So be very careful when using a quitclaim deed to make sure that you're not voiding an existing title policy. If you have a mortgage on a property, using any type of transfer to change a name or add a name is also problematic, because most mortgages have a due on sale clause, meaning that if the property is transferred, that mortgage is due in full 100% as of that date. You can no longer make payments. You have to pay the mortgage off in full. So if you quitclaim deed the property to yourself and another person, or change the name, technically that mortgage company may require that mortgage to be paid in full. Now, will they normally enforce that initially? Maybe not, but down the road, if there's any question about the mortgage or any issues, they can refer back to that mortgage due on sale clause and cause the mortgage to be paid. In some cases, mortgage companies will audit their mortgage portfolios. We get this all the time as a title search company. We'll get a list of 1,000 properties. The mortgage company will say, look, run these properties through title to see if they're still owned by the person who originally borrowed the mortgage. And if in some cases that's been changed, they're going to go ahead and contact that mortgage borrower, presumably to either get a due on sale clause completed or even to buy down the mortgage. So you don't want to run into that with your lender. Check in with them as far as changing the name. In most cases, they'll sign off on it if it's reasonable. You don't want to find out that later. You also want to check to see if there's any other unintended results of that name change. Are you putting somebody else in a position of ownership in case of your becoming deceased or becoming divorced? Is it put your property or your assets in the name that you don't want it to be in, or in conflict with maybe your will or your estate? If you're putting a property into a trust or changing the trust, be careful of taxes or tax consequences. You might want to check with a qualified attorney or tax preparer to make sure any tax consequences of changing property ownership comes into play, especially with regard to homestead status. If you're in a state where you have a property that's homesteaded and that helps reduce your property tax, if you change the name or add a name, that may affect your homestead status on that property in a way that you didn't intend. So double check that. And a couple other things to do when you're changing a name on a property. Verify that the legal description of that property on all of the deeds are correct. You want to look at your current deed, the title search, which hopefully you'll have done at the time of name change, and also your new deed in the new owner's name. Make sure all the legal descriptions match up perfectly. A legal description may be a 1 or 2 paragraph description of that property, and every line and every detail has to be correct from one to the other. If there's one small error, you may have to do this process all over again later to make sure that that legal description matches. So double check to make sure that all the details are correct. And last, be aware that when you do add a name or subtract a name from a property, it may make some of the liens less obvious on a title. For example, if you change the name from Bob Smith to Mary Jones, that Bob Smith is not going to be the current owner, and any liens that accrue to that name may not be obvious on a simple current owner search that's done later in the name of Mary Jones. So make sure that if somebody's doing a search and you did a name change or a quitclaim deed, that prior names are also searched for liens and mortgages to make sure that they're all reflected on the current title. If you need more information or have any other questions, we're glad to help anytime. You can reach us at titlesearch.com. There's probably a link below this video. You can click on to get there, and we can answer questions that might have to do with real estate or property titles. Thanks for the video, and see you next time.